So, welcome back to Factorio for Beginners. This is episode 2. Last time we set up some burners and some miners and some smelting, and we just got electricity set up. So we're going to need to beef this out a little bit. We're going to need coal to constantly come down here. What happened? Something happened. Well, we'll figure this out, but we're going to need coal to continuously come down here because okay, well, I'm going to have to figure this out real quick. But we're going to need to have coal come down here to feed those things because they're not going to work on their own. I'm actually not really sure what happened here. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That was weird. I'll just replop this thing down there, I guess. So let's see. How do we get coal? I don't want to have to keep running down here, right? So in our inventory, we can see that we can make these transport belts. And these are like the bread and butter of this game, especially for early game. So I'm going to make some of these. And how these work are, they have 2 sides per belt. Let me just put some down so you can see what I'm talking about. So the belts look like this, and you can turn them, and you can even join them up like this so that they're feeding each other if you wanted to. But there's 2 sides, so there's a left and a right side. And it looks like they have a speed, right? So 13.33 items per second. So that's like the maximum throughput that they could have for these belts. So in one square here, we could have 13.33 items. And I think that's total. I don't think that's per side. I think that's for the whole square. So, how do we get the coal down to there? Let's figure that out. First, I think we're going to need some more electric miners. Since we have electricity, we don't really need to be picking up all the coal from here anymore, right? So, get some of those made, and just to speed things up here, I'll put that back later. But let's just see. We got to be careful here because we have 2 patches on top of each other, and if I put this thing down here, it'll mine both coal and iron, which I don't want. And oh, that's why it broke, because I was mining coal and iron at the same time, and this thing got jammed up. Okay, well, it's a good thing I looked at that. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick these things up. We don't really need them anymore. Let's go ahead and figure out where I can put these things. Let's try putting it like here maybe. And I think that'll be enough for now. Okay, so these things will mine, and let me see, we're gonna need to, here's what we're going to need to do. We're going to have the coal come down here. And I built these burner inserters earlier, right? And they don't need electricity, so they don't need to be within the area of the power pole because they take coal. But the cool thing is, if coal's on this belt, they'll feed themselves with it first. So we're going to need that to come down here. And we're going to need this to go this way. Carry this up along the power poles, and just ran out of belt, just not enough. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to bring this down, and I'll show you in a second. We only have coal coming down one side of the belt here because these things are only facing one way, right? Which is kind of a burn, but we will fix that in a little bit since it's not really that necessary. So we can see this thing fed itself coal, and as the boiler runs out of coal, it will pick up coal from here and put it into our boiler. So now we have automated electricity, and we don't need to worry about this for now, for a long time. And with that, we now have the ability to focus on other things. So where do we go from here? How do we ramp up our technology, right? What do we do? So there are certain things we can do. We might want to set up more smelting, but if we're doing all the smelting, you know, what's it for? You know, like, okay, so we made pretty much everything we can make here. I mean, we can make a little piece of light armor if we wanted. Ooh, radar. Actually, we should make one of these. But like, what do we do next? And if we look in our production, we can see there's a lab here. And in our intermediate products, we have science packs used by labs for research. So up here it says press T to start new research. Now I'm going to press it. Don't get too overwhelmed. This tech tree is very large. But we can see that there's a lot of different things we can make, right? Like, so the end goal is to launch a rocket, right? So if we want to go just straight for rockets, rocket silo allows you to launch into space and win the game. We can see the full tech tree for this thing. So we would need steel, military, automation, and then we'd have to go down to electronics, oil processing, right? So we have to make all this stuff before we can make this, which allows us to build the rocket silo. So let me close this out. Let's see, what would be useful for now? Now we're going to need to think about a couple things. We're going to have to think about, we're going to have to think about pollution, right? Pollution is going to be a problem, especially if there are enemies around. And like I said, I built this radar, and what this will do is a couple things. If you look on the mini-map, you can see this blue square. That is the area that the radar will cover, and I'll show you what that does in a second. But also, these things scan, and they expand our mini-map. So they'll expand our view. And you know, if we put two next to each other, they would do it twice the speed, but we can spread them out around the map, and that'll help us expand our map without us having to run around and manually look for stuff. Now, what I said about this blue highlight was, this is actually the highlighted area right here. If I, well, I'm not going to run all the way over there, but actually, might as well real quick just to go get some of the copper. If I'm running around and I wanted to see what was going on at my base, it wouldn't be that easy if I didn't have a radar. Because see, if I zoom in down here, right, like if I zoom in at this lake, we can see like the shadow of what was here, but we can't actually see what's going on because we don't have any coverage. But up here where the silo is actually, or where the, oh, well, maybe this area we can actually see. Oh yeah, all of this we can see. But if I go over here, you see this, we were at the stone patch before, and I can't actually look at it. It just looks like a blurry map. But since this area is being covered by a radar, we can actually zoom in and see what's happening, which is really cool. And what's even cooler is we can say we wanted to place down some more of these electric mining drills. We could place down a little blueprint even from the map mode, which is really cool. And I think we can even edit it. Yeah, so that's from the map, which is really nice. So that's cool about radars. Okay, so we're going to need to get some research started. Let's see what we want to do. We can do, so we need to worry about defenses. So we could build turrets if we wanted to. Turrets are automated, and they don't need electricity. They just need ammo, and they defend an area where they sit, which is really nice. We can go for military, which we can make them submachine gun or shotgun, which is also really cool. The two I like the most for the beginning here, there's two. There's logistics, which can build us underground belts. So these are belts that can go underground and allows us for more maneuverability, and splitters, which allow us to split belts in half into two different directions, which is awesome. And we have faster inserters. And then we also have automation. So what do we want to do first? We can see the automation is cheaper, so why don't we go for that? And here we'll see it takes 10 seconds for one unit in the lab, and we need one science pack. So there'll be 10 of those. It'll cost us 100 seconds, so almost 2 minutes, and we'll need 10 science packs. So how do we make science packs? They cost copper plate and a gear wheel, which actually is not that bad. It's pretty easy to make, but you can see they take 5 seconds each. So for us to make 10, it's going to take us an entire minute just to make the science packs. And we're also going to need a lab, so why don't we build one of those? And for now, I'll handcraft these science packs, but we're going to need to figure out a way to make those faster. So, while we do that, let's get a little bit more of this going, and I probably should have set one of these up over at the copper area, but that's okay. Now, I'm going to pick this up and think about a smarter design here, right? How do we want this to work? I'm going to move these. And let's see. One thing to note is that pollution spreads slower when there are a lot of trees, but like desert, it just flies right through it. So we don't know yet because the radar hasn't scanned that far, but if this is all desert over here, we could be spreading the pollution really fast, and if there are enemies over here, we could get attacked from this side. So I'm gonna need to build like a little production line here of basically what I want to do is I want to cover this area in the smelters and in the electric mines, and then move the smelting off-site a little bit so that we can maximize our mining operation. So let me think about this. I think I'll plop it down like, I don't really want to go. Yeah, I guess we can go that way. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out which way I want to go. We'll do it this way. First of all, I'll put them like this for now so that we can actually have two sides to a belt, which is cool. I'm going to move some stuff in my inventory around, which is nice. What's nice about this is if we see, I want these transport belts. I like having them on one, so if I middle mouse click on it, it'll lock it into place. If I middle mouse click on an empty one, it'll let us pick something to put there, which is cool too. And I like having my poles there as well. Okay, so let me just get the electricity over here. Oh. Okay, cool. Let's just say we're going to move it out this way, and yeah, that'll be cool. So we have our lab made. Let's put that down, and we can actually feed it all of our science packs, which is cool. So we'll pick automation for now, and we can see that it's churning away at creating our automation for us, which will give us assembling machines, which are one of the coolest things in this game, and long-handed inserter. Okay, so let's think about how we want to do this, right? So I'm going to make electric inserters that don't require coal. Now what we have to think about is we have iron, and in order to smelt it, we're going to need coal, right? And it's actually kind of a bummer that this tiny little coal patch is all we have. Perhaps I should have gone with logistics first. I'm going to make these in my inventory for now. because we're still not quite at the point where we need we're ready for that. Let me move those things here. Okay, so like for example, what we could do is we could have this belt coming out here some ways like this, and with power, and we could pop down some of these smelters here, right? So let's say we want like smelters churning away at the iron. We can have them be fed in. Sorry about that. I thought my phone was on Do Not Disturb. We can have these things be fed in, but we're gonna need coal, right? So we'd either need like another line of coal, or we need to split this line with coal. For now, I can just fill them manually with coal and let those things go to town. And as you may have heard, our automation finished. We can now research. Let's go for logistics, because I have something in mind. And we're going to need to pop those in there. And as soon as those are done, we'll grab the rest of those. Let me just pick these up so we can stop these coal miners. It's really not necessary at this point. Now, as you can see, this still isn't very efficient because I put that down in a weird spot. These still aren't very efficient because I still have to hand feed them, right? Which is not ideal. Let's put the rest of these in there, and as soon as we have logistics, we'll have a nice little, I mean, this really is not a lot of coal, but it'll have to do for now. But we'll have a better way of splitting off our coal. Oh man. Yeah, you know, when I made the, when I generated the map, I just briefly glanced at it and didn't actually, like, launch into it and run around. Which, you know, I kind of like that, because it kind of feels like, you know, you're dealing with the hand that you've been dealt. You don't exactly choose which alien planet you land on when you crash your ship. So I kind of like that realism aspect, but realism doesn't always make for a fun gameplay experience. Anyways, you know what, why don't we build another lab, since this is taking a while. And I'll build, you know, I'll deal with assembling later. Okay, so let's see. It's almost done. Control right click to pull half of those out, and control left click to put those in. Now we'll get this twice as fast, and that'll be helpful. Now, while I'm doing this, there's plenty of coal there to feed the boilers for now. So let me just set this up so that we can have an easier time here. I'll move this down, so I don't like this being on the patch. That's better. Now we can get rid of this shit. There we go. Okay, that's better. Alright, so let's figure this out. Okay, so this is like the lowest I can go, which is really a drag. And even right here, it's already... So with these, you see you don't actually need them like right next to each other, which is kind of cool. Oh boy, this is rough. This is rough. Okay, that'll do for now. And our logistics is just about done, which is perfect timing. Let me quickly get a little bit there, and a tiny little bit there. Oh boy, this is not the best. Let me just move this one down. Oh, you can see this is taking a long time to break down because my iron axe broke. There we go. Okay, so now we'll have two sides of the belt, which will be helpful. And here's what we're gonna do. We finished our logistics, which allows us to build splitters. What's really cool about these things is, say I have some belt. I'll make those two while we're at it. And I actually like, oh no, move those there. Okay, say I have some belt, right? And it's got some stuff on it, and you can hit it with a splitter, and that can allow you to take these things two separate directions. And another really nice feature is they have like an input priority. So you see there's actually two inputs here on the splitter. And so you can tell it to prioritize one input over the other, output priority left or right, and you can also put a filter, right? So say I had both iron and copper coming on one belt line here, iron and copper, and I wanted the iron to go left and the copper to go right. I could click this and put output priority left, and I could choose iron, or I could output priority right and choose copper. Right, or I guess it would be the copper, well, whatever it is. So this will help us with our coal, because since we have such a tiny little amount, which is really such a bummer, we can, there we go, and this is disgusting. Okay. Alright, so we got two sides, which is great. Now if we take this splitter and we put the output priority on the right, so we always want to feed our electricity first, right? That should be definitely a priority for us. Now let's say we do that, and now we can have another line coming out here, oops, this way, to feed into our smelters, which now that I'm looking at it, I may want to actually have them come down this way. So that's really cool. We've got two little science things done, logistics and automation, and we'll hold off on that for now. That should be enough to get us some stuff. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna move these, and this is kind of the fun of Factorio. You build something and you think it's great, and then you realize maybe it wasn't that good, and you tear the whole thing down and you rebuild it, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but it's pretty relaxing. And when you finally nail down like some sort of layout that you're really proud of, it actually ends up being really, really cool. So just for ease, I'm going to go ahead and switch these around to be here instead. Let's put it like that. We'll do it like this for now. We'll have that meet up here, and I'm gonna need to build more belts. And the way the underground belts work are really cool. So I could put them here. Oops. See, I could put basically that way. If you have like other stuff here, you got like power poles, whatever is on the belt here. Say I have a bunch of iron ore. I think Z is dropped. Yeah. If I have a bunch of iron ore, they'll pass through under the ground, which is really helpful. So let's pick this back up, and let's continue this here. Now, what I want is, I want iron on one side for now, and I'm going to have coal go on the other side. So this is something, it's called side loading, which is really cool. You can have a belt touching another belt and it'll side load in. Another really cool thing that you can do using side loading is, say you had two sources meeting together. Say the iron is actually coming from over here. Let's say the iron wasn't coming from, oh shit. Say the iron wasn't coming from up here, say it was coming from over here. You could set them up like this, and that way when the iron comes in on this belt, they'll side load into the single belt, which is really cool. Okay. Alright, cool. So let's get that, and then let's get our power set up for our miners. And we're actually going to need to make more miners, so why don't I do that real quick while we're setting this power up. Oh boy. Okay, cool. So now we can do something like we were doing before, where we have our little dudes here. Let's just put, this is gonna be easier if we do it this way. Have our little guys here, and just so you know, I'm pressing Q on, like, say if I want to use one of these stone furnaces and I don't want to have to, this is not my hotbar, but I have one. I can highlight it and press Q, and it'll put that into my hand. And then I can also press Q to clear my hand, which is nice. So, wow, I'm out of, oh no, I'm not. What's going on here? Okay, I thought I was out. So, let's say I want to put, now these inserters will grab, they can grab from both sides of the belt, and they can also, but they can only place, if they can only place onto one side of the belt, which is interesting. So say we had something like this, and I had arms going in, arms going out, and then I connect this to power. Okay, great. Seriously. No, yes, okay, cool. Alright, so we can see these things are picking up iron and coal and dumping it in the smelters, and the arms are then placing them out onto our output, which is really, really cool. We could have these being placed, being picked up by an arm, put into a chest, which, you know, we could set that up real quick. We could just have something like, you know what, and since these are actually off, let's just have that go down here like this, and we'll side load it. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. One more. There we go, side loaded. So now we have two sides of the belt, which is cool. Let's go ahead and for now we'll just have these be put into an iron chest. Is that irony? Whoa, was that a pun? Holy shit. Alright. So there we have it. We have iron being smelted in our tiny little smelter area right now, which is really cool. And check it out, we no longer have to feed anything with coal by our hands. I mean, the copper still needs to be fed, and that stone smelter we put over here is probably long been sitting there idle. But iron is now fully automated in terms of us being able to get more of it, which is really exciting. And I think that's a perfect place to leave off on this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. And if you're on Twitch, thanks for stopping by.